When you look at pop culture today, it feels like everything is connected in some way. But what if I told you that the thread connecting Taylor Swift, the Roman Colosseum, and even the Olympics all leads back to one person? Welcome to This Explainer. Let's untangle this whole thing.
So let's start with who else? The biggest star on the planet, Taylor Swift. She was talking recently about her permanent spot in the limelight. And look, she gets that some people might be ready for her to take a break, but her answer is pretty simple. She loves this and she's not going anywhere.
And of course, when you're that famous, your personal life is always going to be front and center. So, if those wedding bells ever do start ringing for her and Travis Kelce, well, a very unexpected name has thrown his hat in the ring to lead the ceremony.
Yup, that Flavor Flav, the Public Enemy legend, the hype man himself, and a self-proclaimed King Swiftie, says he would do it in a heartbeat. But his connection to Taylor is just the tip of the iceberg. Turns out, he might just be the secret center of the entire pop culture universe. Okay, let's dive in.
All right, so to really get what I'm talking about, our first stop is one of the most famous landmarks in the entire world, where fame itself was kind of put to the test. Just imagine this for a second. You're in Rome, you're taking in all the history at the Colosseum, and you look over and there's Star-Lord just casually walking around. That is exactly what happened to a couple of fans who were, completely blown away. I mean, you can just feel this shock in their voices, right? It's that total once-in-a-lifetime moment, and from what they said, Chris Pratt was super cool about the whole thing.
But here's the thing. This kind of crazy public recognition, it's not just for Hollywood A-listers. As it turns out, another legendary face had an almost identical fan encounter at the very same spot.
That's right. Flavor Flav said when he was at the Colosseum, a whole crowd just erupted. It's kind of proof that his star power isn't just global. It has this incredible reach that cuts across generations.
Okay, so that's one spot in Rome. Now let's pull the camera back and see how this same pattern shows up in completely different parts of pop culture.
Okay, check out this parallel. Right now, Kim Kardashian is making all these headlines because she's in Fortnite. Well, Flavor Flav was way ahead of the curve. He was a character in the classic fighting game Def Jam Vendetta, and he told this hilarious story about how he'd get so mad playing, he'd have to pick his own character just so he could beat himself up.
And the crossover just keeps going. Snoop Dogg is getting a ton of buzz for being an Olympic commentator. But again, look at Flav. He's been deep in the Olympic world for years, not just sponsoring the U.S. skeleton team, but he actually got on the ice and tried the sport himself, which is terrifyingly fast, by the way. So all of this influence, all this recognition, it naturally gets you thinking about family, right? And the whole debate around the privileges that come with having a famous last name.
So just so we're all on the same page, let's quickly define the term that's really at the heart of this whole debate, Nepo baby.
You have people like Kate Winslet, who recently defended the kids of famous actors. Her argument was basically that all parents try to help their kids out, and it's really no different than, say, someone joining their family's plumbing business.
But Flavor Flav, he offers this much more, let's call it a down-to-earth example of celebrity perks. He was at an amusement park with 6 of his kids, stuck in a huge line for the carousel. The guy running the ride, who happened to be a massive fan, spotted him and just waved him and all 6 kids right to the front. It's a simple thing, but it's a very real perk of being recognized and, loved by people.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle. Because beyond these parallel experiences, his career is just defined by these genuine, lasting, and often really surprising personal connections.
We're not talking about fleeting photo ops here. He met the guy who is now the superstar Jelly Roll when he was just a 16-year-old kid with a dream. And then there's this incredible story about a fan's dad, Jeff, who just picked him up from the airport back in 2005. It was a simple act of kindness that became a family legend. They tell that story every single Thanksgiving. These are real moments with real people. And all of this kind of leaves us with one big question. In an industry that is famous for its super short attention span, what's the secret sauce? What allows some people to build these genuine connections that actually last long after the cameras turn off? Maybe it's about having a lot more than just good timing.